Those records are sealed. Let's move on to another story, Slim. All right, here we go. Let's get into another one here, guys. Blind orchestra auditions reduce sex bias hiring and increase the number of female musicians. Now, this is an affirmative action thing I want to talk about with you here real quick. Now, blind orchestra auditions means basically what it sounds like. The people that pick who makes it into the orchestra never see the person playing the instrument. They just hear them play. Now, in my mind, and I assume the mind of really anybody that's rational, that sounds like probably the best way to do it if your goal is to prevent any kind of bias, because all they know is how they sound playing the fucking instrument. Realistically, isn't that all you need to know? Whoever's the best should get the job, right? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Sounds reasonable to me. Sounds reasonable to me. Now, here's the problem. A study found that blind orchestra auditions reduce sexism in the orchestra. Or did it? So, there are some people that suggest that using that practice, in fact, did not create less sexism, which supposedly is in classical music now for some reason, because still there's a lot of dudes getting those jobs. Now, you can implicate from that what you will. In my mind, though, doing it without seeing the player, or I assume even knowing their name, is the best way to just get a read on how they play, right?
I thought that's how they did it anyway, in case there was any sort of prior association between the judges and the person. Because, it's the music community.
Sure.
There's a lot of people who know each other and things like that. There might be a judge who knows the people who are auditioning.
Yeah, this guy's fucking his wife, so he ain't letting him play fucking first chair piccolo or whatever the hell he's trying to. Yeah, no way. No way, dude. So that seems to be a good way to do it, but not everybody's convinced. The awakening has come for classical music. Oh God. The New York Times chief critic has launched a campaign to end the merit-based blind audition hiring process for orchestras. I'm gonna let that just sit in y'all stomachs for a minute and make you real uncomfortable. Dork Oracle for 500 bits says, coming from a country that can change their prime minister at the drop of a coin if they do something people don't like. Oh, I don't know. I didn't know that. I honestly don't understand how your government agencies get away with shit. FBI is a government agency, isn't it? Yes, that is correct. That is the Federal Bureau of Investigation. They're basically one of the two super cop, or actually it's one of like 5 federal level super cop organizations that we have. Their job is supposed to be like their investigation stuff. Those are the guys in the black suits that land in the helicopters. Now, I feel like the CIA are supposed to be the spy guys, but I'm sure there's a lot of overlap there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They don't like each other, They hate each other.
Yeah. None of your business says they want to cancel those since blind auditions led to more dudes being hired. Ding, ding, ding. Correct. Okay, let's go on with this.
I wanted, though.
Okay, let's go on with this. All right, so he is starting a campaign to end merit-based blind audition. Now, why would it be necessary to not have merit-based success? You know what I mean? Now, I hesitate to use the word meritocracy because I think there can be other factors to consider there, of course. But in stuff like getting a job, it sounds totally reasonable to me that the only thing, or at least the primary thing to base it off of, is how good you are at performing that job. And when it comes to playing in an orchestra, the only qualification other than showing up on time is being able to play the fucking thing. So I don't understand how merit is somehow controversial to use as a deciding tactic in these things. You know what I mean, Phil?
When it comes to musicianship, merit is the only thing that actually exists.
Right.
You're either good at it or you're not. You can either do it or you can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't make any goddamn sense. I mean, look at this. Equality or equity. Orchestral auditions should be more blind, not less. And I agree. And we could go all day about the difference between equality and equity. That's not, I think, easier verbiage for people to understand when you're trying to tell them something about it is equality of opportunity versus equality of outcome. And that's really kind of what they're getting at here. And equality of opportunity is important. Equality of outcome is an impossible task. Because if you give 10 different kids $10, you give 10 different kids $10. Everybody, you get $10, you get $10, you get $10. All these kids get $10, and you set them loose in a fucking, I don't know, where a toy store, whatever kids want. I know there's no Toys R Us. I can't think of another Toys R Us. Is there still KB Toys?
I think they're out of business. I used to work for them.
Okay, let's modernize this. Let's say you give 100 random kids a $10 Amazon gift card instead. Now that's equality of opportunity. Every one of those kids got $10, regardless of how much money their family has, who they are, what station they're in, blah, 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 blah. Now, you can't have equality of outcome because equality of outcome suggests that you have to make sure all of those kids buy exactly the same thing at exactly the same price at exactly the same time. Not only is that not really that's not really what we mean when we say equality, number one. Number two, it's blatantly anti-capitalist. That's the government deciding what you do and don't have, or whoever the deciding body is in this scenario. That's forced conformity, forced uniformity, forced homogenization, and for a left-leaning party over there who is so staunchly dedicated to how important diversity and inclusion is that it has to be forced on things instead of being allowed to be natural, which is exactly the point of what we're talking about right here. Here they found a way to go quite the opposite. Because your outcomes can have no diversity when you do not have a choice to decide what those outcomes would be. So, again, I think that only supports the theory that things like this orchestral audition that we're talking about here should, in fact, be more blind. I agree.
I completely agree with that as well.
I don't want to know their names, what they look like, how old they are, where they're from, what their history. I don't care. I want to know,
can they do the thing? That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, do the thing. All right, do the thing. Let's hear it. You know, what the fuck ever, man. Do a Zoom call and turn the cameras off. It's not that fucking hard. You could even have somebody who's not in the deciding process be a verifying judge. You know, they verify with the ID or whatever the fuck it is that they do. You know what I mean? Fine, whatever. If your question is validity of an audition, okay, whatever. I'm sure there's ways to mitigate that. But don't tell me that you have to have percentages of this person, that person, this person, that person in every scenario. Because what that does, if you force specific percentages for hiring quotas in every industry, that is to assume that free men and women here in the States can't choose their own industry. That you end up going into a job where a government body has decided a specific piece of the pie that's dedicated to you. What if I want that fucking job, man?
I'm not a criminal. I'm an artist working in an unpopular medium. Can I just speak to you? I mean,
but I can't get the job I want because, there's too many guys that look like me already. What kind of bullshit is that? It takes away choice. And for
it's fascist.
It's fascist. If you don't look exactly like me, then fuck you.